Rachel, where are you? Where are we at today?
Milk and Parlor.
Where at?
Darvik.
Close,
Is
not
that
far
right?
off,
Okay.
not far away. So number one, this is Rachel,
Yeah.
our newest, what do you call yourself?
Apprentice.
Apprentice? Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit about yourself, Rachel. Why are you here? Who
are
you? What are you and what are we doing here today?
I am Rachel. I am a student at Ulster and I'm doing film, so I'm helping out with filming. So.
She's come to work with the A team for a week or two. Well,
maybe a bit of a push.
52 weeks maybe,
Yeah.
but
Woo!
we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are currently in Adam Montgomery's new Rotary at Toberdoney. If you didn't see the original video, we filmed Adam in the springtime at Slurry and he was actually putting this thing in at the time. She's now been going on 2-3 weeks maybe. So we're here today to find out a bit about it, and that was a good job. We were at Grass last night and he seemed pretty content with it, so we're going to find him and he's going to give us a bit of a tour, so stay tuned. And then also go back and watch the Toberdoney video because that was a good video. Now we'll go for a wee walk around here, see what we've come up with. So do you know anything about parlours at all, Rachel?
No, just that they have something to do with milk, I'm assuming.
They've something to do with milk. This is like the milk extraction unit as such.
They don't do that by hand.
What year do you think this is?
I don't know, I thought they still done it by hand.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh Lord, what a wee high. Right, so you see where you're standing there at the minute?
Yes.
These things here, these are called clusters.
Okay.
So basically, see this big platform up over here? Cows all stand up there in one herd or batch, and they come in through this gap up here.
Okay.
They step onto this, and do you know why it's called a rotary parlour?
It moves.
Because it rotates.
You got one right.
So the cows jump on, cow comes up onto here, cluster on, onto the other. She does a full lap round like she's on her holidays or on a carnival. She comes off the other side. Something as that. There's the man of the hour now. So, right Adam, we were with you in the springtime at the bit of Slurry, the 516, and you just got the 74 at that stage.
Well, it wasn't bought then, but
It's just bought since.
it's been bought since, yeah.
Must be money in the milk, boys.
The vault was left us anyway.
Oh no, gone but never forgotten. Was she going that day, was she?
No, she wasn't.
No,
It was very sad looking at that video, so it was sitting down there.
we'll not talk about that.
No.
What we're here to talk about is this thing here. So tell us a bit about your new parlour,
40-point Waikato Rotary.
and what made you go for the Waikato?
Our planning permission wasn't secured. They certainly were going to get it, but it just wasn't secured, and there was nobody else really wanting to talk to us. As well, boys would have quoted you silly prices and stuff, you know, but there was nobody really that keen, and these boys kind of came out of the woodwork. A very good friend of mine in Pembrokeshire in Wales, he was dealing with them and sort of told me you should give them a try, and just keen to do business, get units into the area and stuff. So,
Because Waikato wouldn't be that pretty well known.
No, they're a big name down south for sort of your simpler sort of parlours and stuff, but we tried to spec this a bit more high end, and just sort of all the feed to yield, heat detection, all those sorts of things that we had before. Just trying to get milking sped up.
Waikato's a New Zealand crowd, am I right in saying?
Yeah.
And have they depots up here? Are they just in the south?
Well, it's they have a dealer network through Ireland, so we're lucky enough that way. It's well enough covered backup wise, and they're not just totally finished yet. There is a few bits and pieces left to do, but it's operating anyway. That's the main thing. But it's back in March, whatever years were last year. I only thought I was stressed about this. What came after that was
There was a couple of nights spent in the clinic anyway, we'll put it that way. But
I know it was tough enough going for a while. I never thought I could spend so many hours a day on a phone, but that was exceeded many times. I know. And see, to be fair, all our local vendors and tradesmen and everything else, they were more than good to us. Put all our work on hold to meet the deadlines that Waikato were sort of hitting us with. The way that one ended up, they actually ended up sending a team of boys over from New Zealand to do this.
yes,
What they did was they took it kind of. Last time you were here, we had the plinth done, and we had, I think I'm right in saying, with the floor and round here done. So then the New Zealanders, they came in and started basically putting all the pieces of the bed together. And there was 2 boys came to do that at the start, and then there was a 3rd man. He came to sort of help with a bit more of the technology end and stuff with the auto wash and all that sort of thing. But no, they were here for about a month, and to be fair, the way those boys worked for that month was something else that I've never seen. I've never seen a thing move along so quickly.
Yeah. Talk us through the entire setup here, because this here is a complete new, the whole thing is complete infrastructure, so the whole thing's new.
Yeah.
That's a green belt site, like.
This is a greenfield site. Used to actually be a yard and a lane, so it says. So the whole thing sort of runs in 2 levels. Your working area is sort of down around here, and then the cows, they're standing above you the same way they are in an ordinary parlour. But what made us swing towards the Rotary more so than the big herringbone was with all the width we ever needed here, but it was length was going to be the problem, because obviously that's cubicle house up there. We still needed to retain access to the tank. Like the biggest I think we could have had was going to be a 24-point herringbone, and we were coming out with 14-point, and the sort of the money and everything else that we were going to be going through, it's, you know, it just didn't really seem to justify itself. And I used to work in rotaries whenever I was away as a student and stuff. Thought this was a great idea, basically. It's a very efficient system. Like, you know, any slow milkers, they're automatically retained and they go around a second time, rather than them standing in a big long parlour and holding up 28 or 30 cows, you know. It's they just go on around a second time and doesn't disrupt you really at all.
Yep.
So the other main sort of driver for choosing Waikato over and above the rest of them was the different flooring for the platform. So a traditional rotary is a concrete deck, which, you know, that's definitely tried and tested. We just felt here the offer that they were sort of giving us, we opted for the Centris composite platform, 65% lighter than a traditional concrete deck, and we just thought over the lifetime of the machine it's going to be a lot less wear and tear on all the motors and nylon driveways and everything else, and just sort of made more sense at the time.
With that sort of flooring then, if she's lighter to drive, I know it's easier on like the mechanics of the whole thing. Do you find it like a saving in like the electrics or anything running like that, or? It's
never going to save you money on electric because the 2 motors are still running.
Yeah.
There's 2 motors on there, and we actually had a statement in there for, now we've been in here for a full month of electric, and our electric usage is down 25%.
From the normal parlour?
From the other parlour.
That's wild.
So
is that going because it takes less electric to run it, or because you're spending less time actually milking?
It takes roughly the same amount of electric to run it. You know, the same amperage and that sort of thing, but it's just, you know, it's the things that, it's your variable speed drive, your variable speed motors for your milk pump and vacuum pumps and all that. But yeah, time is the main thing, I would imagine, like, because this part between milking and washing, the vacuum pump's running, I'd say, for just shy of 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Whereas the vacuum pumps in the old part are running for about 6. And the cooling is also a lot quicker. So no, it's a bit of saving in the electricity so far anyway.
Yeah. Well then, do you want to show us how she works down below and how she drives?
Excuse the flies. Good protein for you, lad.
This is like walking into Narnia.
So this is sort of, I suppose you need to say the epicenter.
Yes. That's a big word for you.
Yeah. So this is what they call a central gland. So every signal of everything that goes on in this parlour goes in through here. Mm-hmm. So all the milk, vacuum, everything else comes back and forth through this. What happens in there is there's sort of like a big coil ring with like different contactors on it and stuff, and each one of them does something different. I only know this so well is because that was one of the teething problems we had. There was one of them it was too tight and it was actually arcing against the coil, and then the whole thing just stopped with me. It was like the first Sunday or something. It was first Saturday evening. We were. It was one of the first mountains we were in here ourselves without the dealers and stuff still here, and so that was about a sharp introduction. So it was, but anyway, it wasn't a hard fix anyway. So now everything comes in and out here. So that is actually your milk line there.
Okay.
And up above head here is your wash line, and the teat dip and compressed air come in on that line as well. That was another actually nice feature about it, because in a traditional rotary you would have had a secondary hopper in here that you'd had to pump teat dip into manually, whereas that's pumped and you just fill your drum however often it needs filled, you know, so it just makes life a wee bit handier. It's one less thing you have to do. So then over here, this is all like your receiver vessels and that here, so that's your milk pump. This one here is your vacuum tank, and that's your milk receiver jar there.
Yep.
And then that just operates in a wee float in there. Whenever milk hits that, then just starts pumping, and then that's all your control boxes for your drives there. And then if you look in behind through that, that's your drive motor.
Oh, yeah.
One of them. And then if you look up above, there's a big drive wheel.
Oh,
in there.
yeah, yeah.
And that's going along that I-beam. So it is.
So it's like a runner in a shed nearly.
Yeah, almost. It's like a big door track.
Yeah. Fair
If you
enough.
like. It's, so now it's just, and then it just sits in those smaller nylon wheels in between each thing. So basically, each cow is standing on that wee triangle plate. That's where it all comes down to.
Yes.
So there's 40 of those, and then those threaded bar rods, I think they were 9 inches long, and that whole thing had to sit perfectly level the right way around. And they were only, those New Zealand boys, they were only allowed to be out by, I think it was like 1/4 of a mil or something totally ridiculous like that. You know, it's, but no, they were happy with the way everything fitted together, and this is the sort of the bottom of the centres panel here, whereas on the other rotaries you've been staring up into a sheet there, and the concrete would have been sort of poured into that. So that's amazing the way it all fits together. Like, but they had no alterations to it as used to do. They just sort of set on perfectly in the right shape. So they were happy enough with us, you know.
But like whenever you say all like that there, like it all sounds so simple, you know, like you have a tractor and a couple of wheels and well, it sounds like a tin floor, but it's not. Like it all just sounds so simple, but there's not one bit of this is like.
That's your other point of contact there. Like that's all the contact that where the cow's tanning has with any of that is those 4 stripes of weld.
Aye. Must have been a good welder.
But that's how well balanced the whole thing is. Like, you know, these here, they all came complete with those things on them, and they set them on top, like, and they were fit to balance themselves. And they even set the panels of the floor on before they welded any of that, and it all just sat perfectly. Like,
Yeah.
that's how well balanced the thing is. That's your milk line. That's your vacuum line. Your milk meter. Call that a bale marshal. That's just all the information about the cow, and that's basically just communications box that fires everything back to the computer.
So that's all goes from the tag in the ear to this back to the computer
in the office.
and there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Just tells you what all's going on.
Well, you've explained what everything here is. What on earth is this thing up here for? Is this like a view?
It's kind of more. It's more elaborate than what it ever needed to be, but it looks nice.
Is it for an audience? Like, do you charge people to come in here on a Sunday to watch like a football? No, or what?
If you can climb up to it, you can stand and watch on it if you want. No, it's so basically they came at us. We needed something to mount the feeder to.
Yep.
It was one of the boys from Donegal that was installing it. His mate was an engineer, and they came up with this idea. And it's a good job now. You know, you have to go up there to work it. Anything it is very safe. You know, like if you fall out of that, it is your own fault.
Yeah. Is that your disclaimer now?
Yeah. If you do choose to go up into it, if you fall out of it, it's your own fault. But no, it's worked well. Like, you know, it gives another place to, you know, obviously the feeder's well supported, and then that board and everything else hanging down beside that there, that's the ID basically, and the bale flags, the reader for it was all be mounted on then as well. But a lot of places you go to, that feeder is just hanging from the roof. They're dropping stuff down anyway, so we said whenever we were doing it, we'd give, you know, somebody somewhere to stand if they did have to go up there and work at anything, you know. So no, it kind of finished the whole thing off a bit.
Right, we're going to have a nose at the rest of the building then. Give us a bit of a walk around the thing and you can show us.
Aye.
Basically, because I know nothing about rotary parlours. I've done my share in normal parlours, but rotaries I'm pretty green to, so talk us through the whole setup from start to finish. So where do cows even come in from?
So cows, that's the collecting yard behind us there, and cows come in, walk along here, and you're standing sort of, so they come in, they're ID'd on bale 1 and fed on bale 2, and then you want to be putting on somewhere in around bale 3. It is, one man can operate it fairly easily, like even with doing a bit of wiping or whatever, you know, it's you just have to pace yourself.
So when you say they come on bale 1, bale 2, I take it this is bale 1 here, fed here, and then you're putting the cluster on here once they have the meal in front of them then?
It just depends who all else is about. Like if you have somebody else kind of roaming about, just keeping an eye that cows are coming off well, which whenever you're by yourself, obviously you don't. You can, like, I find myself standing here a lot of the time, just so that I can watch everything that's going on out there at the same time. But the cows stand fine, they come onto it, they know they're going to get fed, they do stand well, you know. What
was your first couple of nights like getting them onto the parlour? Now, bear in mind, these are all cows used to a straightforward parlour.
These cows come out a 90-degree parlour where they walked in and turned straight round 90 degrees, and then coming in here just to walking straight on. The first evening, that was a hard evening's work, so it was. But even at that, we were still finished milking in about 2.5 hours that evening, where normally in the old parlour at that time we were sort of spending around 3, so we were quicker already. But then the second milking took us 1 hour and 3/4, so that was a big improvement. And then by milking number 3, like, the cows were running in the collecting yard and just happy to be on it. So it only took us 1 hour and 15 minutes. For only 3 milkings, like, you know, I think we were over the moon by that stage. It was just, you know, and nobody, that third milking, nobody had their hand on a cow at all. So now they took to it wonderfully well, you know, from the first evening. We did have teething issues, a couple of sensors with the milk pump and stuff like that, and just funny wee bits that sort of first weekend. But look, it's like anything else. There'll always be teething issues with it, you know.
What number of cows are you milking?
At the minute, we're just over 200. So
it's not a long time to be milking 200 cows. Like.
Well, that time I think there was 230 going through. And our milks at the minute, and then you maybe have about 20 minutes washing down or something, you know, it's not a big job. Like, it's freed us up in a big way. You can be, you know, you can make evening plans a bit easier now, and it's, you know, if you need away at 6 o'clock, it's not a big inconvenience anymore, you know.
Are you sort of hoping the wife doesn't see this, then she'll know that she thinks you're still milking here?
What do you mean, wife? What do you mean, wife, Conor?
It's a work in progress. Cows on here, full circle round, come out this other side with your technological device that boots them out, basically.
Yeah.
And then where do they go from in here then? They can step off at any stage along here then?
Yep, they can come off at any of them 4 points. And then they come off here, turn, and then they walk out through here. The shedding gate in here, that's one of the bits that needs to be finished. But whenever it's going right, it'll draft them left or right or straight on wherever they need to be.
Yep.
So it does leave it all very automated. You know, you can, you know, that was the idea behind the big collecting yard, just to bring, well, everything in as much as possible.
That is a big collecting yard. Like what size is that there? You know what?
I couldn't tell you in square meters, but it was, at the time we were designing all this, it was measured to hold between 220 and 250. But, well, mind you, whenever you see 100 cows on it, it doesn't really fill it.
Yeah.
But if you had everything standing tightly packed, it probably would hold the most of them, you know.
So tell us about the design of that shed, like this here space. I like these vents for letting about air and stuff, and like whose idea was that, or where did that all come out of?
Well, it was Dally's idea actually, that one. He had seen them done cubicle houses and stuff. It lets air in where you wouldn't still being stuffy like it is. It's as well lit, you know. We looked at the clear roofing extensively, but it's I don't know, there was something about it we didn't really take to it. The roofing contractor, he wasn't a big fan of it, so we just went with fibre cement in the finish then.
Yep.
So, but plenty of skylights, there's plenty of light in here. You know, I've never had to have the lights on in the evening yet, but the shape of the shed and everything else, so the traditional kind of rotary shed that you would have probably seen in other places, that collecting yard, it would be split, and you would have this sort of side here for once to be penned off and everything else. But as I say, we didn't have the length to do anything like that here really. We went with that there, and I thought it was going to be a mission, to be fair, but sort of made a cornering pen in here that holds, probably hold about 35 cows, you know, if you wanted to shut a few in at the last or something. But it's since sort of the second milking we haven't really used it.
Yep.
But I'm sure it'll be needed for training heifers or something like that, you know, so they'll always be there. At the back, it's not finished yet, but that will be a sort of a wash line back there. Mm-hmm. That's just pumping up the sort of wash water from around the parlour and everything else, and then that'll be used to wash down that half of the collecting yard. And then there's another pipe over the other side there. It's catching the plant washings and the tank washings and stuff and pumping that up to wash that half. It's one of those things you can never have enough thought of before you start. You know, and you'll always think of other things while you're doing it. You know, it's anyone else that is thinking about it, just go and see as many as you physically can, because there'll always be things that someone has done differently, and there'll always be things that you haven't thought of yourself. You know, it's like there are things, if I had it to do again, I probably would have done differently, but the boy said it's done now. So
What sort of things?
just a wee bit in terms of layout and stuff. Like, you know, there's an office over there, and it has no need to be as big as what it is.
You're not telling me you're putting a bar on it, no? And a TV and stuff, no?
Well, that's there's another chap with that idea too, but it's and then just no need to be as big as that. That would have maybe opened up a bit more, but well, you need it the angle too and stuff. You know, it's hard to say. Like, you know, we're only really going 6 weeks as well. It's kind of hard to know if you'd have done that much differently yet or not. You know, but and the likes of that exit area there, 4 stalls for a 40-point probably was too big. They had sort of recommended 3.5, and then that's the day we were measuring it. It just wasn't done that accurately, but it was the sort of thing I couldn't get the right point of where it was supposed to be, and then I said, right, well, we might as well do a wee bit more rather than have it too wee. So that's that was kind of the origin of that. But no, all in all, we're very happy with it.
The other thing is, last time I was out with you, you were trying to sell a splash plate,
Yeah.
and somebody actually did ring you about it.
Yeah, they did ring me about it, but they didn't buy it. So there's a parlour in there if you
That
want to
was
try
my
and
next point. There's a parlour out here for sale. So we actually will stick your number at the bottom of this one. Anybody looking at a good parlour, there's one standing here.
Yeah, no, it's up in Dundee anyway, but that's...
We get her sold, we get her sold.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
commission in these sales now.
No, well, the first one done, so make one happen and then there might be.
20% commission. Right, so with all this building then, you're a wee bit further away. Your old bulk tank room was over this direction here somewhere.
Yeah, it
Where-
was out in the main yard there.
Where does all the milk go to now?
Well, we had to upgrade anyway for usually about 8 months of the year we were on everyday lift anyway, and Lakeland, to be fair, they never said 2 words just about it. You know, they just came and lifted it. So we went to upgrade anyway, and my idea was always for a silo. I had a wild notion for a silo out the front there with this job, and whenever we went to price it, the price was ridiculous for what you were getting. So they found us just a clean second hand, wasn't very old, I think it was 2 year old or something, horizontal tank for a fraction of the price.
Yep.
And it's rather than trying to incorporate a dairy, we just put in a base and set it up outside, and that's from what I gather, all the red tractor boys and everything else, they'll be more than happy with that, you know. So
That was a vertical you wanted to go for?
yeah, it was a vanity thing, I'll be honest. It's not, it was purely a vanity thing. There's no real advantage to it in terms of cooling or anything like that. You know, it's a neat looking job, and
Yes.
it's would have tied in nicely with the shed and with the meal bins and stuff like that, you know.
Well, look, we've seen the parlour, we've seen the shed, we've seen the tanks, we've seen basically everything. What way has your season been as a dairy farmer in 2024 since we were last chatting to you at the slurry?
Well,
Don't say it's been wet, because that's all you're going to. If that's all you've got to say, I'm going home. But
look, we've had wet years before. We're going to have them again. It's a fact of life. But whenever you get two in a run like that, it is demoralising enough. 2024, it's been a very big, exciting year for us here as a family business, and it's, you know, we've got the silage cut. We have some crop cut, a bit more to cut, and it's, you know, the year's not done yet, but in terms of managing grazing, it's been an extremely tricky year. But silage and stuff, our silo with the 2 cuts in it out there is every bit as full as it's been every other year, if not a wee bit fuller, actually, in all fairness. We had a bumper first cut, but we'd be a bit more old-fashioned here. We're only pushing for 3 cuts rather than 4, and that's whether that has helped us this year or not, I don't know. But everything grew well in the spring, but it was very difficult to manage cows and other stock out of grass. There was plenty of days, like definitely if you were solely grass based, it would have been a very tricky year. That's sure, we all got our work done in the end up, and we're still around to complain about it, so that's the main bit.